We start off in Bogota, Colombia, where a guy named Fabio is talking to his boss, Don Luis, who runs a major drug cartel. Fabio tells him he's done with the business and is passing off all the cartel's records to someone else. Don Luis pretends to be cool with it, even raises a glass to Fabio, but secretly signals his enforcer, Marco. Yeah, Fabio knows the game. Nobody just quits a cartel and walks away. He rushes home with a few loyal bodyguards, knowing they've got maybe an hour to escape the country. Once home, he tells his wife Alicia and young daughter Catalia that it's time to leave. Catalia already has a bag packed. She's ready. Fabio gives her a microchip packed with evidence against Don Luis and says if anything happens, she needs to get to the U.S. Embassy and hand it over. He also gives her an address for his brother in Chicago and a necklace with a Catalia flower on it. She was named after it. Not long after, Marco and a gang of cartel hitmen storm the place. Fabio and Alicia fight back, but they're outgunned and get killed off-screen. Catalia, sitting frozen at the table, hears everything. When Marco finds her, he pretends to be friendly, asking for the microchip her dad stole. But she's not falling for it. She stabs him in the hand with a hidden knife and bolts out the window. Despite cartel members chasing her with cars, bikes, and even parkour runners, she gives them the slip by diving into the sewers. Eventually, she pops out near the U.S. Embassy and gets inside. There, she tells an agent her dad is dead. When he asks if her father gave her anything, she throws up the microchip she had swallowed earlier. The agent is stunned. "Do you even know what this is?" he asks. Catalia just says, "My passport." That chip buys her safe passage to the States. An American agent escorts her to Miami, but she pulls a fast one. She asks to use the bathroom at the airport and escapes through the window, then grabs a bus ticket to Chicago to find her uncle, Emilio. When she finds him, he hugs her tightly. Finally, someone's safe. She breaks down crying. Next day, Emilio takes her to a private school and bribes the principal to let her in mid-year. Catalia is not happy. She doesn't want to study. She wants to learn how to kill. Emilio shows her he's no stranger to violence by randomly shooting at a car outside. He tells her assassins are easy to find, but smart ones? Not so much. If she wants to survive, she has to be smart first. Years pass. Now grown up, Catalia pulls a stunt. She pretends to be a drunk driver and gets arrested, ending up in a police station overnight. But surprise, this is all part of her plan. She wasn't drunk. Her real target is a prisoner being brought in that night. Once inside, she changes into a tight black suit and sneaks out her cell. Using some clever tricks with a spoon, water, and the power supply, she causes a blackout and slips through the vents. She knocks out a guard, sneaks into the prisoner's cell, wakes him up, and tells him to unbutton his shirt. He's confused, and she just shoots him multiple times. She frames the guard she knocked out to cover her escape, then quietly gets back to her cell, changes, and pretends she never left. The next day, she's released. Turns out, the fingerprints she left were fake, just latex over her real ones. At home, she dances, showers, and unwinds. Then she heads over to her casual boyfriend Danny's place. He only knows her as Jennifer. They hook up, but she leaves the next morning without a word, too afraid to let him see the real her. Meanwhile, FBI agent Ross starts digging into the murder. It matches a string of hits over the past few years, 22 bodies, all with a weird flower mark on their chest. The media is calling the perp the tag killer. Of course, we know it's Catalia. Elsewhere, CIA agent Richard goes to a mansion in New Orleans where Don Luis is now living under witness protection. He shows Luis footage of the hit, but gets no answers. Still, Richard makes it clear he knows something shady is going on. After Richard leaves, Luis tells Marco to take care of it. He's pretty sure the killer is Catalia, the one they let slip away years ago. Time to fix that mistake. Catalia, meanwhile, meets up with Emilio again. He's furious. He saw the flower mark on the victim and knows she's behind it. He tells her this is not what her father wanted, but Catalia is not backing down. She says this is her choice, and she won't stop until Don Luis is dead. Emilio sighs and gives her another job. This one's a Ponzi scheme crook who stole billions and is now hiding in Mexico. Back at the FBI, Agent Ross goes over the footage from the police station. Some agents think the killer might be a woman, maybe even Catalia. Ross finds that hard to believe. Meanwhile, Catalia feeds two big dogs at her hideout. They're trained to obey her commands. Inside, her friend Pepe, who helps with weapons and gear, is waiting. Catalia digs into her stash of fake IDs and pulls out one from Mexico. Cut to a swanky mansion in Mexico. The hedge fund guy who stole billions is living the good life, surrounded by women way out of his league. One of them jokes that the sharks in his indoor aquarium ignore her. He tells her all it takes is one drop of blood for them to go wild. Later that night, Catalia makes her move. She swims through the shark tank, unbothered by the predators, slides open a hidden glass panel, and slips into the mansion. Catalia quietly pulls out a silenced pistol. The hedge fund guy wakes up to find the word thief scribbled on him, along with that signature flower symbol she always leaves. When he starts moving around the house, he realizes all his guards have already been wiped out. Panic sets in. He grabs 2 guns and heads toward the pool area, where he spots the same flower nearby. Sitting calmly in a chair is Catalia. He tries to shoot, but surprise, both guns are empty. She shoots him in the legs, and as he begs for his life, offering to double her fee, she puts a bullet in his chest. He stumbles into the pool, bleeding. The sharks do the rest. Back in the States, Catalia stops by Danny's place, but he's out checking in on some art galleries. She lies in his bed, holding one of his shirts close. Clearly, she feels something real for him, but keeps it buried. Meanwhile, Agent Ross is still trying to figure out who this mysterious killer is. While he's looking over the flower mark again, the mailman casually drops a big clue. It's a rare flower from Colombia. Ross tries to dig deeper, but is stonewalled since anything connected to Colombia falls under the CIA's jurisdiction. He calls Agent Richard for clearance, but Richard shrugs it off. Worried, Richard calls Don Luis and tells him to clean up the mess before Ross starts connecting the pieces. Luis sends Marco to track down Catalia by interrogating anyone and everyone tied to her family. Later, Danny comes home to find Catalia has brought dinner. They eat and share another intimate moment. The next day, while she's still asleep, he snaps a photo of her and gently wakes her up with breakfast. But Catalia freaks, so she's in too deep and that she has to go. Danny's left confused and a bit heartbroken. Catalia checks in with Emilio, who's furious. A local newspaper just reported a mass shooting in a bar. 8 people dead, one of them his friend. He's furious she's still leaving her trademark flower after every job. It's not just about her anymore, he says. It's about the family she still has left. He reminds her that revenge didn't bring back his own son. It only put more people in danger. He gives her an old photo of her parents and walks away. Catalia breaks down crying. Trying to turn things around, she goes to church with Emilio and her grandmother. It seems like she might be ready to walk away from it all. Elsewhere, Danny's chatting with a friend at a coffee shop, telling him how much he likes this girl, Jennifer, even though he barely knows her. The friend sees her photo and is impressed. Then, without Danny's knowledge, he sends it to his sister-in-law, who works at a police station, to run a background check. This small move sets off a huge chain reaction. Ross's computer pings with Catalia's photo. He tracks it back to the station and has the tech arrested. The photo matches security footage from the earlier prison hit. Boom! He knows who he's after. Catalia calls Danny and starts to open up, but when he mentions the photo, she panics and asks who else saw it. She looks outside, too late. SWAT's already surrounding her place. Thinking quick, she turns on the shower, crawls into the vents, and escapes. She moves through multiple apartments. One tenant tries to stop her, but she knocks him out. Turns out she stashed a harness and sniper rifle in his place ahead of time. As Ross's team blows open her apartment door, she rigs explosives and uses the harness to slide down to the garage. She disables the cameras and ducks into another vent just before they catch her. She vanishes into the subway system. Catalia rushes to Emilio's, but it's already been hit. Pepe's lying dead on the floor. Her grandmother is gone too. Then she finds Emilio, tied to a chair, murdered and tortured. She collapses, broken, and screams in pain and rage. Ross gets home that night to find Catalia already there, gun drawn. She calmly asks him to sit, then tells him the chair he's sitting on is rigged with a pressure-sensitive bomb. He's not going anywhere. She tells him her flower symbol was a message to Don Luis. It took years, but now he's finally paying attention. Now that he's taken the last people she loved, she wants Ross to get the CIA to cough up Luis's location. If not, she promises to make his life fall apart, piece by piece. Once she's gone, the bomb will disarm itself. Ross brings the problem to Richard, who still refuses to give up Luis. But while they argue, Catalia calls Ross. She tells him she'll kill Richard unless she gets that address. Richard laughs. He thinks he's safe behind bulletproof glass. A second later, a sniper round crashes through and nearly hits him. Terrified now, Richard gives up the address. Ross asks if she'll hurt his family, but Catalia hangs up. She was never going to hurt them anyway. Catalia gears up at Pepe's old garage. She finds the 2 dogs that used to obey her commands. After getting everything she needs, she drives an armored truck straight toward Luis's hideout. At the mansion, Marco's briefing the guards. He knows Catalia is a serious threat. Luis hears something. It's a rocket. It slams into the building, barely missing him. 4 of the guards try to form a convoy with Luis, but Catalia rams through them with her truck, wiping them out. A massive shootout breaks out as she picks off Luis's men one by one. Marco locks Luis in a panic room and tries to kill her himself. One by one, all his backup gets killed. Eventually, it's just Marco and Catalia. They fight, fists, guns, anything they can get their hands on. She eventually manages to disarm him, rips apart his gun, and uses a piece of it to stab him in the neck. Meanwhile, Luis, thinking she doesn't know where he is, makes a run for it in a van. But he runs into a dead end. A garbage truck blocks his way. His phone rings. It's Marco's number, but it's Catalia. He taunts her, saying she'll never get him. But then, in his rearview mirror, he sees the 2 dogs. They maul him to death, finally giving Catalia the closure she needed. Back at the FBI, Danny's in custody. He tells Ross he barely knew anything about her. As they talk, Danny gets a call from Catalia. She says she's safe, and he has 40 seconds to ask her anything before the call is traced. He asks for her real name. Catalia, she says. Then he asks if she'll ever come back. She tells him maybe someday. Ross bursts in, demanding the phone, but she ends the call. Danny looks at Ross and says, "I love her." Ross just stares at the phone and tells him he's free to go. Catalia, now wearing sunglasses, hops onto a bus headed who knows where. Her mission is complete. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching.